Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. We need the Padlets rather than the slides. So if we just start with number 1. Yeah, no worries. Bear with us, everyone. We're just putting the right things up. I've just sprung something on Catherine. Perfect. Thank you. You might have to help us scroll down for me. So welcome back, everyone. Derek's just asked me to go over both Padlets so that he's got them on a recording. So we'll just go back to session 1 very, very briefly and have a little look at the ideas that came up. So as I kind of briefly said, I think we had some really interesting themes in terms of one of the things that's definitely come out of not only just COVID, but the conversations we've had over the last couple of days is really the importance of this sharing resources and this collaboration. And I think the EFL has got a really important role in that, and that's come out in the next Padlet. So we need to think very carefully about how we're going to do this, what the forum is for sharing, not just the event every year, which is a fantastic event, but also how we can do that between times as well, and maybe putting people in touch with each other. So obviously the challenges are things like that, as I said, the balance between student expectations and what they want, and then actually being more sustainable, because I think sometimes there's a bit of a mismatch between what they so they say one thing. Can you scroll down a bit, Catherine? And then getting the thing I missed before was the whole eco-anxiety, which I think is a really important thing, and also the mental health side of things. So really thinking about what impact do we have? We go out to field sites, or we do them digitally, and what we see is there's the damage. And particularly associated with the sort of climate, and when we're thinking about sustainability, that's going to aggravate that. So how do we manage that? How do we make it so that actually students can feel that they've got some kind of impact that they can have? So some hope, I think, as somebody put it, which I think is really important. And then we talked through a sort of wider application and awareness of EFL, and we were just talking in the room about how do we connect with people that maybe are not in the room or don't know about EFL so far, and things like bringing in employers and those sort of things. Challenges we haven't talked about a little bit that much, but the upgrading equipment, so it's resources, and how do we make our software and things more sustainable in terms of the timings and ethics of constantly upgrading. I think that is an important part. And it comes back a little bit to this money business of keeping the institute on board, saying yes, this is a really important part, and it's worth investing the money in the field work. So I think that's probably sort of summarised all that. Thanks, Catherine. Shall we move on to the next Padlet? So again, I think there's some really interesting ideas here. I think the big thing from what have you got out of EFL is definitely the ideas. So really that sharing of practice, getting contacts, and having I like that, a great network of fantastic colleagues, and that is absolutely what I've had out of EFL over the last 10 years or so. It's been fantastic to work with such great people and being inspired. So I think that that's emphasises the importance of EFL. So what do we want to do? What's the role? Someone's mentioned a few people have mentioned the EFL book, which was out a few years ago. I think the authors, I'm not one of them, has been. Brian's waving a copy in the room for those online. So you'll be pleased to know that there is a new book in the pipeline that Derek, myself and Dan Swanson are working on. So a human geographer, physical geographer and an environmental scientist. So watch this space. We are interested in contributions, particularly case studies. So if anyone is interested, then they can contact Derek or myself about that. Dan. So the role, again, a platform. So yeah, the conference is really important. So what we think about is how do we do things? How do we share ideas and practice between the conferences? So we got a conference every year, but how do we do that? And someone's highlighted the website. So we've been chatting about that in the room, about how we might do that in terms of updating the website and providing more stuff on there. Connect people, technical and field experience. Yeah, cool. Okay, so missing groups. I mentioned employers, students. Yes, I think that's important. It's always difficult because it's this time of year, isn't it? It's beginning of September. They're not quite back yet, so we might want to think about how we involve students more. Technicians, I thought that was a really great suggestion. I think that's Trevor's nodding his head enthusiastically. So I think, yeah, that's, they're often the people who are doing the kind of getting all the kit together or helping out and often designing some of the material. So that's definitely something we can think about. And other organisations like the RSB, the Royal Geographical Society, all of those things. PGRs, postdocs. Yeah, we always get a few, don't we? We get a few who come to the conference, but yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's something to pick up. And yeah, John's talk from a secondary school perspective, I think was really helpful. So I think there's kind of lots of ideas of how we can spread out. And in the room, we were talking again about how to sort of think about field work beyond a green field, and think about things like art galleries or social workspaces, things like that. So basically it's out of the classroom, because actually they're doing a lot of great digital work themselves. So, how do we could possibly link up with those groups as well. So what sort of activities? Field visits. We certainly used to do more of that at the conference. So that's something we can think about, maybe additional stuff as well. Show and tell. Yeah, again, did more of that before. So I think we can look at that. Showing things that didn't work. Yeah, we're too enthusiastic to say this worked fantastically well, and often we've gone down dead ends with things. So database, yeah, okay. So we'll think about that. So thank you for the links and any other comments. I know Simon's put in a bit of a plug for an idea around an EGU session. So if you're interested in that, please do contact Simon. I think he'd be really interested to hear from you. Diversity, okay, student diversity. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And collaboration with other people creating resources. Okay, so thank you very much for all of your very, very valuable thoughts and things. You're now recorded, so you can look at these Padlets, and we will actually share the Padlet just so that through the follow-up to the conference, so people can add comments. If you kind of think of something that you didn't think of today, you can add them afterwards. And we will take these ideas forward into thinking about EFL and what we're doing as beyond the next conference. So the next meeting, before I hand over to wrap up, I'm just going to plug the next meeting of EFL will be this sort of time next year. And we confirmed that it will be in Birmingham at my institution. So I'll be Julia next year, being really frantic about organising the local stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a bit of an employment theme and employers theme. So we will be working with Careers Network to try and get a lot of employers here. So again, if anyone has any kind of links and thoughts around that, please do feel free to contact the EFL team or myself directly at l.c.batty@beham.ac.uk. So I will hand over, and thank you again for all your very valuable contributions to the Padlet and discussion.
Thank you, Lesley.